Welcome back to Creative Excuses, where we make excuses to be creative out of the video games that we play. Today, the excuse is an update to our Arcane Archer build and a new variation of that build, focused on group play instead of solo play. So if you're here for the new healer build, jump to this timestamp. But first, we're going to do a very brief update to the original Arcane Archer, the Solo Stamina Sorcerer. Check out that build video in the description for a more complete version of the build, and then just follow the updates here. We have just a few changes. For the sets on the solo build, we are going to be dropping the Shacklebreaker set in favor of running Kinras on the front bar. This means we'll be running Kinras on any combination of the body or jewelry, leaving one slot open for a one-piece monster set and one ring slot open for the Ring of the Pale Order. For our one-piece monster set, we are going to use the new-ish Magma Incarnate set for both Magicka and Stamina Recovery. Light or medium armor for the monster piece works just fine, but the penetration and crit chance from a light piece is very nice, on top of the extra resources from the Undaunted passives. Because we are running Kinras on the front bar, we are going to be using Unfathomable Darkness on the back bar, even though this is still a simple bar build. All armor should be traded in Divines, but that is not entirely necessary. My armor has Infused, Divines, and Well-Fitted scattered around. Jewelry in Robust or Infused with weapon damage. Bloodthirsty works too. Our last set is still going to be Unfathomable Darkness because the crows fit the Arcane Archer theme and my specific Merida theme. We are also running this set on the back area of effect focused bar, which will make more sense when we get to the new rotation. Both weapons are bows and traded in Sharpened with your favorite enchantment. Now for the new skills, on the front bar, we are swapping out Hurricane for Camouflage Hunter for that wonderful crit bonus, which is going to boost our damage a good bit compared to the previous build. We're also swapping out Lethal Arrow for Focused Aim to help a little bit with sustain, and its damage is comparable on a Sorcerer anyway. Now we've swapped Hurricane to the back area of effect bar, partially because it fits that area of effect theme, and because it functions as a convenient timer for the Unfathomable Darkness set, even for console players. Everything else about the build is the same or very close to the same, and you can check out the original video in the description. Alright, for the rotation, we're going to keep it simple by doing a few things. We're going to keep up Critical Surge on the back bar, and we're going to keep up Hurricane on the back bar on their timers at the 15-second mark for the Hurricane and at the 33-second mark for Critical Surge. Now the reason we're keeping up Hurricane so specifically at the 15-second mark is because of how the ability works, and also because Unfathomable Darkness, our set, also has a 15-second cooldown. So every time Hurricane goes down, Unfathomable Darkness is ready to go again. So you just swap to the back bar, light attack, Hurricane, and you're good to go. Otherwise, we're just going to keep Caltrops up on the front bar, use Dark Deal for sustain when we need it, and snipe away. Alrighty, if you've got any questions about the solo Arcane Archer, drop those in the comments below. It's a super fun build, but I didn't think it needed a whole new build video, so now we move on to the main event, the Arcane Archer Healer build, my new favorite way to play this character. This is a super fun healer build, and it's an even more fun Arcane Archer than the solo build. It is a hybrid crit healer based in part on Dooma's hybrid Warden healer that you can check out at the link in the video description. The theme is still an Arcane Archer, so we want to be both a mage and an archer, but this build is specifically made for 4-man dungeons and has successfully healed its way through Veteran Dreadseller, though it's not tried hard mode just yet. But let's jump into it. First, our stats and consumables. We're still using tri-stat food like Bewitched Sugar Skulls and basic stamina potions. We have 24 points into Magicka and 40 points into Stamina. This leaves us with about 19,000 max Magicka and 31,000 max Stamina, depending on which bar we're on. We are still on a Bosmer, but an Argonian or a Khajiit would actually be even better for the healer side of this build. Last, we're using the Thief Mundus for even more crit chance. After all, we are a crit healer. Now for our sets. This is where the build gets interesting. Our first set is ripped directly from Dooma's concept for a hybrid healer that deals damage, and it is Kinra's again. This will give us Major Berserk and will provide our group with Minor Berserk. However, I'm not sure that this set is optimal. Because Kinra's is so meta at the moment, there's a good chance that someone else will have Kinra's on in your group, and so the Minor Berserk buff will be redundant. In that case, especially in Trials, Spell Power Cure would be a better option so that you can bring a more unique buff to the group through Major Courage. Either option is great, and Spell Power Cure, but Spell Power Cure will be easier to keep up and will buff your own heals. I don't have it just yet, but it will be my preferred way to play this build, I believe. However, Kinra's is still a great option. For weights, if you're using Kinra's, it doesn't matter where you are running it as long as it is active on both bars so you can keep it up at all times. However, if you are running Spell Power Cure, use it on the weapons and jewelry so that you have the medium armor on your body pieces. The medium armor passives are actually better for our heals on this build, and are better for healers in general. Our second set is our monster set. Coming from Dread Cellar, it is the full Magma Incarnate set, this time using both pieces so that we can provide our group with about 40 to 60% uptime on Minor Courage and Minor Resolve. Just passively, you heal them and you keep up the buff. It's super nice. And this will also buff yourself. It also gives you that unique hybrid recovery, which is super handy on this build. I'm using both pieces in medium for extra weapon damage and critical healing, again because the medium armor passives benefit healers most. Our last set is where this build really comes together. We're using the medium set from Wayrest Sewer's Tooth Row. This is a great hybrid set, giving us both Major Savagery and Prophecy, buffing our crit chance on both sides by a ton without needing expensive potions or sacrificing bar space. Again, if we're running Spell Power Cure with this, we want Tooth Row on the body for those medium armor passives. For the traits, we want Infused on the big pieces like the head, chest, and legs, with Divines on everything else. Glyphs on the body are all stamina so that we have a nice big stamina pool for dealing damage, and one of our heals. And then jewelry can be traded in Robust with 2 weapon damage and 1 stamina recovery glyphs. Our weapons are going to be a bow on the damage bar and a restoration staff on the healing bar, both traded in Precise for extra crit chance. Remember, we are a crit healer. Both are also enchanted with a Restore Stamina, as we are going to be using Stamina a lot more than Magicka on this build. Alrighty, let's look at the skills now to see how the build actually works. First, the healing bar. Our first ability is Echoing Vigor. This is one of our main heals that we want to keep up at all times on our allies. It is a very strong heal over time that is very cheap to keep up with our medium armor cost reduction. Second, we have our main sustain tool for the group, Energy Orb. This is another strong heal over time with a great resource restoring synergy for the group. Next, the bread and butter of this build, Power Surge for our major sorcery and brutality buff. While active, it will heal once every 3 seconds when we activate a critical heal on ourselves or our allies. It also heals in a huge 18-meter radius and heals up to 6 allies. Essentially, it allows us to stack this heal on top of our HOTS, our heals over time. Next, we have Radiating Regeneration from the Restoration Staff skill line. A cheap heal over time that auto-targets your allies. It is fantastic for 4-man dungeons. However, if you are healing in Trials, I would replace this with a group-based heal, like Healing Springs, so that it'll hit 6 targets in the DPS stack instead of just 3 and having to cast it more than once. Up next is our main burst heal, the Sorcerer's famous Twilight Matriarch. Keep this pet summoned at all times because it's dealing damage, and if a group member gets in trouble, you can just pop this, and they will get hit for up to a 20,000 crit heal quite easily. Activating on the front bar, on the bow bar, actually makes it heal even more. Alright, onto the bow bar. Our first ability is our main spammable Crystal Weapon. We're using this ability to bring some extra penetration for our team, as well as giving us another opportunity to critically heal from the Sorcerer passive Blood Magic. Next up is our Area of Effect spammable and an odd damage over time skill, Acid Spray from the bow skill line. Next we've got Dark Deal for our own burst heal, but primarily for stamina sustain during the DPS portion of our rotation. There are other options, but this one is good for our sustain, and not having to cast it is nice. Next we have our hardest hitting ability, Bound Armaments. This buffs our stamina pool, by 8%, our light attacks by 10%, and every 4th light attack will let us fire off 4 bound swords from range to deal a nice burst of damage. Our damage rotation is built around this skill. Finally, we've got the Twilight Matriarch double barred so that it stays alive and because it deals nice passive damage. Our ultimates on both bars are flexible. I have Flawless Dawnbreaker as a selfish ultimate slotted here, and Charged Atronach on the Restoration bar for another option. Dawnbreaker will buff your heals, Atronach will deal great damage and provide another synergy. For another option though, of course, Warhorn is always great for the team. Now, I don't want to cover all of the passives, but I do want to explain specifically why we want medium armor. However, just not to leave you hanging, for passives, take all of your Sorcerer passives, all of your weapon passives, all Undaunted passives, medicinal use from the Alchemy tree, and then of course all medium armor passives except for the Sneak passive. Also take Fighter's Guild passives if you're using Flawless Dawnbreaker. So, the medium armor passives are superior for a healer, especially a crit healer. And this is because we get a bonus to both weapon and spell damage, and our critical damage, and our critical heals. Light armor, on the other hand, only gives us bonus crit chance. The penetration bonus will help our damage quite a lot, but it will do nothing for our healing. This is why we're using medium armor, and this is super important. I'm sure that you could get by with the light armor passives just fine, but medium armor is going to be optimal, especially with our cost reduction on our stamina skills, as we are using primarily stamina skills for damage. You will spend way more stamina on this build than you will magicka. Okay, now for the champion points. In the blue tree, we're using Swift Renewal for increased healing over time, From the Brink for a huge damage shield on yourself and others if you heal them below 25% health, Fighting Finesse for extra critical damage, and even better, for critical healing, and finally, Untamed Aggression to boost our heals and our damage. In the red tree, we've got Rejuvenation, Fortified, Boundless Vitality, and Spirit Mastery for faster resurrections. Alright, last thing, the rotation. There are 2 sections to the rotation, healing and then damage. And you always want to abandon the damage section in favor of healing if your team is in trouble, because you are the healer first. Okay, so the healing rotation is super simple. You're going to start on the bow bar and pre-buff bound armaments. Then we're going to swap and cast Power Surge. Then your 3 10-second heal over time skills with light attacks on the boss in between, and then swap bars. Now we're in the damage portion of the rotation. If you pre-buffed bound armaments, it should be ready for a cast, so light attack, bound armaments, light attack, acid spray, light attack, crystal weapon, light attack, crystal weapon, light attack, bound armaments, light, acid, light, crystal, swap. Then we just repeat it. If you're running low on magicka, throw in a heavy attack on the restoration staff bar, which will also give you major mending for 4 seconds. And then of course, you can use your ultimate when it's ready and burst heals as necessary. With this setup, you're going to deal some decent damage, you're going to keep your team alive, and have a really fun build and rotation. It all shockingly synergizes quite well, and I have had an awesome time playing on it. This is my first healer build and my first group-focused build ever, and I love it. The playstyle and the theme are both super fun. Alright, if you made it this far, thank you for watching, and I hope you like the new and improved Arcane Archer. If you liked the video and the build, hit that like button and drop a comment down below. With that, I will see you all in the next excuse.
I'll help you from up here. Watch out! He put down a trap. Should have brought salamander traps. Another spicy salamander. Seems there's no shortage of salamanders around here. much smoke. We have to hurry. The map says this hatch is the easiest way into the library. Come on!